The traffic jams, the crowded trains, the crowds. If you're noticing more people everywhere, that's because there literally are. The United Nations says 8 billion populate the planet. 333 million people live in the U.S. alone, making it the world's third most populous country.
There's extreme heat right now in countries around the world, in part because of climate change. It was a hot one in the Korean capital, Seoul, with the overnight low the highest in 25 years. Severe heat waves in the U.S. and Japan, too.
This weekend has been a scorcher in parts of Europe, the U.S., and Asia. In Spain and France, it got above 40 degrees Celsius. In the United States, more than 20 million people were under heat alerts in 16 states. Northern and central China got into the 40s as well, with the authorities advising people to avoid activities outdoors.
After revolutionizing the space race and electric cars, the world's richest man is now promising a Twitter makeover, renaming his own account Chief Twit, claiming the bird is freed. Elon Musk carried a kitchen sink into Twitter HQ this week, tweeting, "Let that sink in." Then fired senior execs once closing the $44 billion deal.
ET can confirm Amber Heard filed for divorce from Johnny Depp on Monday, 3 days after Johnny's mom passed away. Johnny and Amber first met while filming 2011's The Rum Diary.
I thought maybe you were a mermaid.
I'm from Connecticut.
At the time, Johnny was with his longtime partner, Vanessa Paradis. The two announced their split in June 2012. Months later, things started heating up between Johnny and Amber. Fast forward to February 2015, they tied the knot and celebrated with a beachside wedding in the Bahamas.
The most precious thing I can have is privacy.
The couple was plagued by rumors early on, which Amber slammed in Marie Claire magazine. She said, quote, "I try not to react to the horrible misrepresentation of our lives, but it is strange and hard." In April, they appeared together on camera to apologize after Amber pled guilty to illegally bringing the couple's dogs into Australia. Amber attended the Met Gala solo just weeks before filing for divorce. On the day of her filing, Johnny attended the Alice Through the Looking Glass premiere alone, looking withdrawn. The day after, Amber was spotted solo shopping in Beverly Hills. Next, she's filming Justice League Part 1 in London, and Johnny will tour Europe with his band, the Hollywood Vampires.
Into some international news, Israeli forces have shot dead Al Jazeera's journalist Shireen Abu Akleh in the occupied West Bank. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, Shireen was hit by a live bullet on Wednesday while covering Israeli raids in the city of Jenin and was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, according to the ministry and Al Jazeera. Abu Akleh was wearing a press jacket and was killed. Another Al Jazeera journalist, Ali Samudi, was also wounded after being shot back. He is now in stable condition and said that there were no Palestinian fighters present when the journalists were shot, directly disputing an Israeli statement that referenced the possibility. Al Jazeera media has condemned the attack, saying the move intends to only prevent the media from conducting their duty. Al Jazeera calls on international community to condemn and hold the Israeli occupation forces accountable for the intentional targeting and killing of Shireen.
بل فرح وسلام مع ابنك الوحيد ومع الروح القدس إلى دهر الدهور. فلنصلي يا أبا المراحم وإله كل تعب.
Yeah, he said it's safe to come out.
No, we're not taking that risk right now. I can't hear you. We're not taking that risk right now. Okay, well, come to the door and look at my bag, bro.
No. Yeah, bro. He said bro. Red flag.
Slow down, you're fine.
I want you to drop backpacks. You're okay. We're okay. Drop your backpacks. Still. Christy. Drop your backpacks.
Mahsa Amini was a 22-year-old Iranian Kurd. She was detained in Tehran by the morality police for allegedly not her hair properly. She died in custody 3 days after her arrest. The police claimed she died from a heart attack during mandatory training hijab rules. But when images of her emerged in the hospital in a coma with bruises, they quickly went viral and provoked widespread anger. The protests, which have now been going on for weeks, are the largest mass demonstrations Iran has seen for years. Mahsa Amini's death has become a light for many people across the nation who are fed up with a religious regime which interferes in nearly every aspect of their lives. The morality police, or guidance patrols, are a unit of Iran's police force. They're responsible for enforcing dress code in public spaces. According to the law, all women must wear a head covering and loose clothing. A lot of this is open to interpretation, which gives the morality police a huge amount of arbitrary power. On the receiving end of that power are mostly women, although men can also be arrested. Those detained are often given training on the hijab and how to dress according to Islamic values. The rules are ultra-conservative, and activists for many years railed against a system of control which interferes with what should be a really basic right, how you dress your body. The death of Mahsa Amini has resonated with people across Iran and ignited anger, which has been boiling below the surface for years at religious laws which are hugely oppressive. Protesters calling for justice and democracy have been met with a systematic and brutal crackdown. But people haven't been deterred because being fed up with the clerical regime and its repressive rules, people are also angry at dismal living conditions, made worse by years of US sanctions. Iran has seen widespread protests before, but what we're witnessing at the moment is different. These protests are mainly led by women and the support across the full spectrum of Iranian society. Iran's supreme leader claims all of this has been orchestrated by America, the great Satan, and the Zionists. No evidence that's the case. In fact, what is happening in Iran's cities appears to be very much an organic movement of people who are not scared to defy their regime's rigid laws. The veil or hijab has long been a symbol for many of oppression, and many women are now ripping off and burning their head coverings in protest. No one knows how all of this will end, but it is the most significant challenge the Islamic Republic has faced since it was founded.
A victory for the far right. Giorgia Meloni is set to become Italy's first female Prime Minister.
If we are called on to govern this country, we will do it for all Italians, with the aim to unify people.
It's a remarkable rise for the 45-year-old firebrand from Rome, known for her speeches slamming gay rights, European bureaucrats and illegal immigrants. To form a government, she'll have to share power with other right-wing parties led by ex-Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi and anti-immigration politician Matteo Salvini.
Now to Ukraine, where the fighting in the east and south intensified today as both sides try to hold territory. CBS's Ian Lee shows us where the heaviest fighting has been.
If war is the mother of invention, meet one of her children. Ukrainian troops jerry-rig a tower on a car used to pinpoint targets for their artillery. In Bakhmut, Ukrainian guns pound the enemy. Soldiers here repel intense Russian attacks. The city quickly became symbolic for Ukraine. Bakhmut still stands. President Zelensky praised the soldiers, calling the fighting in the east difficult and painful. That pain felt by the family of Volodymyr Yezhov. He was killed in Bakhmut last week. His candlelight funeral is a vivid reminder of the war, as roughly 9 million Ukrainians live without power. Russian President Vladimir Putin told state TV he's ready to negotiate some acceptable outcomes with everyone involved and accused Kyiv of refusing to talk. But Ukraine's foreign minister says Putin isn't serious.
Everything they do on the battlefield.
Over $150 billion. In 3 days, that's how much the world's 15 largest cryptocurrencies lost in market value. It's because of the crypto exchange platform FTX, which is behind this token, named FTT. On November 6th, the token's value began to fall, losing more than 80% of its worth in the span of 6 hours. Once seen as a survivor in a struggling market, the fall of FTX has sent shockwaves through the cryptocurrency industry. So, what went wrong? FTX is the brainchild of Sam Bankman-Fried. He's commonly known as SBF on social media. He's been previously hailed as a savior of the crypto industry.
And you were called Morgan of crypto. Does that bother you or did not?
It doesn't bother me too much.
Bankman-Fried founded the quantitative trading firm Alameda Research in 2017. 2 years later, he started FTX, an exchange platform for buying or selling cryptocurrencies. Right now, he's the majority owner of both firms.
That kind of aroused some skepticism among industry players and traders, investors, stakeholders that there could be sort of conflict of interests in terms of whether Alameda Research was getting preferential treatment on FTX. But the official narrative that SBF gave in the past is that the two companies are separate entities.
I pledge that I will serve you with integrity and humility, and I will work day in, day out to deliver for the British people.
The UK has a new Prime Minister. Rishi Sunak, a former investment banker, takes over at a time of big financial and economic challenges. What's unusual is that less than 2 months ago, Sunak actually lost an election within his party to get the job, but his rival, Liz Truss, resigned.
I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party.
And only a few years after starting in politics, Sunak became the first person of color to lead the United Kingdom.
world has been watching Russia's actions for weeks, and what happens next could have far-reaching consequences that affect us all.
ABC Action News reporter Julie Solomon shows us how the growing tensions what you pay on everyday items.
President Joe Biden says the United States will not send troops to support Ukraine, but warned there would be consequences at home if Russia Ukraine.
But the American people understand that defending democracy and liberty is never without cost.
Dr. Susan McManus, a political analyst for ABC Action News, agrees Americans could see it to their daily lives. U.S. officials have warned various sectors to brace for supply chain disruptions, including aerospace industries.
A supply chain problem, which prices go up, which means inflation goes up even higher, which means that everything else goes up too, because all this works together. And we do not want to have a trade war with a big country like Russia, because it will certainly affect Americans' pocketbooks.
This is BBC News from London. Buckingham Palace has announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. In a statement, the palace said the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will London tomorrow. BBC Television is broadcasting this special programme reporting the death of Her Majesty the Queen.